Here I am, more Cowbell, the Mississippi State podcast, presented by SEC Country, at least for 4 more days. We got 4 more trips around the sun here in the SEC Country studio, where I promise we're plugged in. We're not checked out at all. It's not like Terps over there wearing sweatpants playing FIFA.
Definitely not happening.
That's definitely not happening. That would be
all I'm gonna do all
unprofessional.
week. Yeah.
You're pretty good at FIFA, though. I got to tell you that.
I'm pretty good at it.
I'm pretty shocked you're so good at it.
Thank you.
I would assume you're the best in the office.
I think that's a safe bet.
Because I don't know how to play that. Jay Hammer says, wow, the last week. Yeah, here we are. What is wrong with my screen here, Land Shark? We got to get me going. Okay, hi. More Cowbell, the Mississippi State podcast. 1 more trip around the sun. So we are going to be doing my show very soon. The More Cowbell show will be on my own. I've been buying equipment, spent $800 on a camera this weekend. Very excited about that. Changing a room in my house to the Brandon Walker studio. That's happening right now. We've cleaned it out, got it going, got it looking good. Just got to buy a couple more things. We'll be ready to go. I don't think we'll be starting next week. We'll take a week off for the 4th of July holiday, and then hopefully the week after that we'll get started. Hail State from Nash Vegas, Jack Buffkin. Hail State from Amory, Mississippi, says Jane Lewis. Guy Dawson's in Gulfport, where the bananas have been shelved for the lemons. Good morning. Looking forward to your show, says Carolyn Crane Lindley. Thank you. Grace Thacker Good. Hail State forever in Greenwood, Mississippi, or from Greenwood, Mississippi, but in Louisville, Kentucky today. First things first, statue of Gary Henderson? Probably not. And is he getting a different role, or is he gone? Bob Ivy? I would assume he is gone. I don't think you take the interim coach, relieve him of the interim coach duties, or relieve him of the head coach duties and keep him. I just don't think that happens. I would guess that Chris Lemonis will bring his own pitching coach. I don't know who it is. I've seen some names, but certainly that's not done yet. Clyde Cummins in Pearl says, what about our new Yankee coach? Who will stay from the current staff? Jake Gautreau, obviously staying. That has been, I don't know if it's been announced officially, but that is the word. All reports are that Chris Lemonis, the new head coach from Indiana, and, of course, Jake Gautreau staying, the hitting coach. Traquan Key checking in from West Point, Mississippi, Point City. Met Traquan Key the other day. Good kid. Good guy. Watching at Kellogg's hardware store there on Commerce Street in West Point, Mississippi. Never been more proud to be a dog, says Lynn Rhodes Gilmer. Bill and Michelle May Womack says Hail State from St. Joseph, Louisiana. Jay Hammer says a Yankee coach. He was born on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. I did not know that about him. I'm just because you're coaching in Indiana doesn't mean you're from Indiana. I do know that. I don't know where he's from. Somebody says he's from South Carolina. Well, there you go. How many College World Series has this guy been to as an assistant? I think he's been to 3. I believe he's been to 3. And yeah, we're going to get into that. We are definitely going to get into that. By Cohen's words from a couple of months ago, does this hire, live up to that? Well, if you massage the words and the meaning a little bit, maybe, but we'll talk about that. The sun revolves around the earth, which is the center of the universe, says Shane Harrison. I got nothing for you, Shane. I got nothing. So we're going to talk about, 190 people here today. We're going to talk about Chris Lemonis. Obviously, that's the big news. Mississippi State hires a new baseball coach. It's a name that came out of left field. Chris Lemonis, the new coach. Nobody saw it coming. I didn't see it coming. I don't know if any of you guys saw it coming, but we will definitely talk about that. A lot to say. Is it a good hire? It could be. Is it something that lives up to what Cohen said? Probably not. Is it dividing the fan base currently? A little bit. But in the long run, will it work out? We'll see. We'll see. Very, very possibly. We'll talk about Chris Lemonis. But you know what? On any other day, other than today, after Mississippi State ended that great run and after Mississippi State hires a baseball coach, on any other day, Joe Moorhead and what he and his staff are doing on the recruiting trail would be the hot topic on this show. And tomorrow, I think it will be number one topic. But we've got to talk about what Joe Moorhead is doing on the recruiting trail because Joe Moorhead is killing it. He is destroying teams on the recruiting trail. Mississippi State up to number 7. You got Nathan Pickering, a high 4-star defensive end the other day, and then you follow that up with a 4-star wide receiver, Dennis Jackson from Summerall, a receiver, somebody Dan Mullen never would have gotten in a living room with. Somebody Dan Mullen would have never gotten on campus commits to Joe Moorhead. It's a new day. at Mississippi State as far as recruiting goes. This is not Hugh Freeze jumping in and buying everything in sight. No, this is a program that was built the right way by Dan Mullen. Dan Mullen exits stage left and lets somebody come in that knows how to talk to people, that knows how to recruit players. And look at this, Joe Moorhead and his staff off to a great start in recruiting. I didn't even mention Gregory Brooks, the cornerback from Louisiana. We'll talk about that. We haven't got to the show yet, so I got to do a little business before we get to the show. We're going to talk about Chris Lemonis being the new head coach. We're going to talk about Joe Moorhead and whipping butt on the recruiting trail. We're going to talk about all that. We'll talk about the run Mississippi State made. This is a very full show. We have a 2-minute drill at the end of the show. Let me run down everything. Facebook.com/The More Cowbell Show. Please go like that page. That's where we'll be very, very soon. I'm building the studio at my house right now. I bought the camera. I've got equipment. Facebook.com/The More Cowbell Show. Now, what I've got to ask you guys, I've got 225 of you right now. Currently, we go on the air every day at 10:45 Central Time. Now, that's an odd time. That is an odd time. What time works best for you guys? Is, in my mind, I think something like right when everybody gets home from work, say 7 o'clock Central Time at night, have a daily show where we come together as a fan base and talk Mississippi State sports and I make jokes. What do you think? Is nighttime the best time? Is late at night better? Is early in the morning better? Is 8 a.m. better? I don't know. I'm asking you. Would you rather have it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon when you can watch at work? I'm asking you. Steve C says 3 a.m. because Steve C is just a terrible person. I don't know why Steve C does this to me. 9 p.m. says Kevin Wright. High noon says Jerry Mansour. Tim Frank says Big Ten is the underbelly of college baseball. Why would anybody think this is a good hire? Well, Tim Franks, he's a very good recruiter. John Cohen has kind of sold out for a recruiter here. He wants a recruiter. He wants somebody who can build the talent that Oregon State currently has. So I don't know why you would get caught up in him coaching in the Big Ten. Coaches can come from anywhere. Coaches can come from anywhere. I definitely wouldn't miss any shows if you did it at 7, says Carolyn Crane Lindley. Jared Mansour says 6 o'clock. Later in the evening, 7, Mike Deason. Depends on your day job. Ray Leno. I have a day job, but I can do it at home, so I'm going to build my show. I'm going to build my schedule around this. In the wintertime, later is better. Summer is a gamble. David Ellis. That's a good answer. It's a good answer. I know you're hunting squirrels and possums during the fall and the winter. So, yeah. Ari Ellis, 6 or 7 p.m., so I can watch live. Nate Knox says 2 p.m., 7:30 a.m., says Terp. Terp's a terrible person. Terp, you haven't seen 7:30 a.m. in years, okay?
It's been a long time.
If you build it, tell us what time it is. We will come, says Jay Hammers. Thank you very much. Right after the local news, Brian Knight. What if I am the local news? Anytime after the Price is Right. Well, you know what? That's not true because right now we come on right during the Price is Right in Mississippi. We come on 10:45, and I know the Price is Right is 10 to 11 everywhere in Mississippi. All right, so Danielle Whalen Gode says, no to evening. All the women will agree evening is too busy. I am big with the women. The ladies love Brandon Walker. How about 2 shows, lunch and dinner time, says Paula Smallwood Dobbs. 3 to 6 and take on Matt Wyatt, says Chad Mask. Not a bad idea. I could go head-to-head with Matt Wyatt. See, that's the name of his show. Before we get to the show, before we get started, Landshark, you had a tweet you wanted to show? Had a Twitter? Something from my Twitter? Look at that. So there we go. Boy, Terp, look at that basketball player right there. That is 11-year-old Brandon Walker at Mississippi State basketball camp in 1990. And I'm not sure why I wasn't offered a full scholarship right then and there. Look at that.
What are you doing with your hand?
Huh?
Why is your hand so webbed apart?
I'm holding the ball. I'm holding the ball
with your shoes in there. You're rocking J's.
I was rocking J's, yeah. Good-looking J's, too. What do you guys think about that? Is that a ball player right there? Huh?
Very well framed, Mississippi State.
I took years, but I finally grew into those ears. It took a long time. It was a journey. It was a long, hard journey. Could you dunk at 11? No, I was 13 before I could dunk. And then 15. Actually, I couldn't dunk until I was 17. The grades got you, says David Ellis. That's possibly. Shooter grip, says Ray Leno. What about the tweet from the Ole Miss assistant coach after our baseball game, Kevin Wright? And I know I got to get to my show. His name is Brennan Chapman. That's right, a grown man named Brennan. Brennan Chapman, of course it is, right, Brennan? An Ole Miss coach who, as soon as Mississippi State loses in the third week of June, he tweets out a funny banana gif, whatever you want to call it. That's about right? Joe Moorhead destroying him on the recruiting trail, destroying Ole Miss, and they're worried about Mississippi State. You know, I woke up this morning after I tweeted something out last night about, I don't know Chris Lemonis, but I trust going with a hire. Joe Moorhead was a Grand Slam hire. At least it looks like that way early. And an Ole Miss fan tweeted out, boy, this is peak State. You guys calling it a Grand Slam hire. And I'm thinking, it's peak Ole Miss. You follow me. You care what I say. You hang on my every word. You're watching me right now in Oxford. Brennan Chapman, you hang on everything that Mississippi State is doing because your team lost to Tennessee Tech a couple of weeks ago because they don't have the nuts to go to Omaha. They don't have the stomach to go to Omaha. Your team can't recruit anymore because the money ain't flowing. Your team isn't half of what Mississippi State is, so you got to send out funny gifts or whatever it is. Congratulations. You're a clown. You guys ready to do a show? You ready to do a show?
Sure.
Sorry, excuse me. That got out of hand.
You all right out
quickly.
there?
Yeah, I'm all right. Let's go.
It's the More Cowbell Show, brought to you by SEC Country. And now, your host of the More Cowbell Show, Brandon Walker.
That's me, Brandon Walker. More Cowbell, the Mississippi State podcast, brought to you by Turp and Landshark Productions. Here in the SEC Country studio, at least for 4 more days. We got one more weekend here before we'll run out of here and unemployed. Life is terrible. No, I'll have a new show very soon, the More Cowbell Show. It'll be my own show. I'll be in the More Cowbell studio in my house. I bought my equipment. I'm very excited about it. We'll talk about that later in the week. There's too much to talk about today on this show to get mired in semantics, to get mired in whatever I want to say. I got to ring the bell. Forgot. Mississippi State. So much going on, okay? First of all, Mississippi State goes to Omaha, gets beat by Oregon State. Oregon State looks like a fantastic team. It ended, but what a run, what a magical run, what an incredible 3 weeks from these guys. They'll always be legends at Mississippi State for what they just did. But then Mississippi State hires a baseball coach, Chris Lemonis from Indiana. Now the new baseball coach at Mississippi State. Pretty shocking. We've got 3 topics on the show today, and all 3 on any other day would be the biggest thing going in Mississippi State sports. It was the run to Omaha, Chris Lemonis, and if these 2 baseball things hadn't happened, Joe Moorhead destroying people on the recruiting trail would be the biggest story in Mississippi State sports. Joe Moorhead got 3 commitments over the weekend, 3 big-time commitments. Dan Mullen ain't here anymore, all right? This is a new day in recruiting. It's a new day in Mississippi State football, and Joe Moorhead is killing it on the recruiting trail. I'll tell you who he got, when he got him, and why it's important later on in the show. Now, we'll have a 2-minute drill at the very end. We'll have to go quickly because I think this show is going to be stuffed full of everything. Got a lot to talk about, a lot to say. Now, before I get to it, you see this beautiful maroon and white polo, this Mississippi State baseball logo polo. I love this one. This is one of my favorites. They're all one of my favorites. They're like my children. I got it from Maroon & Company, maroonandco.com, at Maroon & Co on Twitter and Instagram. Please, Highway 12 in Starkville. I've had people say, listen, I never thought about going there, but I went there because you said it, and it is one of my favorite places now. If you go to that website, maroonandco.com, you'll get lost on it. It's the best place to get Mississippi State gear because you walk in there, it's a big, airy store. There's room to walk around. You're not, elbows to elbows. It's a great place to go. Maroon & Co on Highway 12 or maroonandco.com. Chris Lemonis was the head coach at Indiana University. Indiana in Bloomington, Indiana. You guys know they're the Hoosiers, usually good in basketball and not much else. But they went to the College World Series in 2013. They went to a regional this year, won 40 games, were number 2 seed in Austin. They ran up against Texas in that Austin regional. And if they'd beaten Texas, they probably would have gotten beat by Tennessee Tech because Tennessee Tech, as we all know, the greatest team in the history of the universe. Mississippi State hires Chris Lemonis. Now, This is not a name any of us mentioned before last night. This is not a name that was on the tip of anybody's tongue. I guess, if you're Kendall Rogers or if you're Aaron Fitter, if you're John Cohen, you knew the name Chris Lemonis. If you're in college baseball circles, you know the name Chris Lemonis. I, Brandon Walker, who watch it as a fan, did not know the name. Did not know the name. But another name I didn't know. I didn't know the name Joe Moorhead. And as soon as he was hired, I researched him, I look him up, and I like it. I think, well, I'll give Cohen a little credit here. He went off the beaten path to find a football coach, and now 6 months later, Moorhead's killing it in recruiting. He's killing it at every speaking engagement. He has been a delight as head coach so far. Now, he hasn't coached a game yet. But what I'm saying is John Cohen got it right in football. And the hope is John Cohen just got it right in baseball. Now, I wish I could tell you, here's how Chris Lemonis is going to coach. Here's what they're going to do. They're going to do this, this, and this. I don't know. All I know is in baseball circles, when you talk to people, they say this guy is a recruiter. This guy is a beast on the recruiting trail, and it looks like that is the kind of coach John Cohen is going after. It looks like he's going after somebody who is aggressive, who goes out and gets players. Listen, the honest truth is Mississippi State in baseball, in college baseball, in the World Series, State has a team full of warriors and battlers and grinders and winners. And they just go out there and they play hard and they give you everything they got. But the bottom line is this. Oregon State was just better. Oregon State had more talent. Oregon State with 4 or 5 first-round picks on their team. Oregon State, just a very, very talented baseball team, won on talent alone. That is what John Cohen, I believe that's his vision for Mississippi State. He wants Mississippi State to be the team that shows up in Omaha with 4 or 5 first-round picks. He wants Mississippi State to be the team that gives you a lineup 1 through 9 where you just can't get – anybody can hit a home run. Anybody can hurt you. He wants that kind of talent at Mississippi State. I believe he is choosing the path to that talent. He is choosing to go with somebody who has a reputation as a recruiter. Now, you look at Chris Lemonis' head coaching record, it's just okay. It's just okay at Indiana. He won 40 games this year. It was a 2 seed. Never finished higher than 3rd in the Big Ten. But he never had the resources as a head coach that Mississippi State has. He never had this stadium. He never had access to talent down south. He never had anything he'll have here. So if you put a good recruiter in that chair, maybe you catch a spark. And maybe it turns into a fire. You also keep Jake Gautreau. Jake Gautreau, I know, has kind of built up legendary status as an assistant coach here at Mississippi State in his time here. He helped turn around the bats this year. He will stay. And the consensus around the country with baseball guys is you put Gautreau and you put Lemonis together, you've got a hell of a recruiting staff. And that is a big deal. That is a big deal. I know the reactions in the fan base vary. I know there are some that are excited about it. I know there are some that are, let's wait and see. And that might be where I am. There are some that say, this is embarrassing. Gary Henderson should have gotten a shot. And there are some that say they'll never trust Cohen again because this hire doesn't live up to what he said a couple of months ago. You can feel however you want to feel. At the end of the day, Chris Lemonis is the head baseball coach at Mississippi State University. I choose to trust Cohen with this hire. Although I believe the unrest from some fans is largely due to Cohen and what he said on head-to-head radio or wherever it was a couple of months ago. If Cohen doesn't set the bar extraordinarily high by saying, this coach is going to be this, this, and this, and this, then nobody's really upset today. But he did. He did. And I think it was probably a mistake. But at the end of the day, I think John Cohen has been a breath of fresh air for Mississippi State sports. His Moorhead hire was fantastic. He's done everything right except for that. And I will give him a pass for making a mistake, or at least what I believe looks like a mistake. Now, what is Chris Lemonis? He's supposedly, like I said, a beast on the recruiting trail. Along with Gautreau, they should have a dynamite recruiting staff, which tells me that John Cohen is going all in on recruiting. Joe Moorhead has shown that he is an ace, or so far he's a very good recruiter. And in baseball, if you don't have the talent, it doesn't matter how gritty you are, and it doesn't matter how much of a fighter you are. You need that talent in the end. Now, State has talent, but they don't have Oregon State talent yet. You got to get it. With that 15,000-seat stadium, with the best stadium in college baseball, we are going all in on baseball, and John Cohen has chosen his guy. The Gary Henderson thing is tough. It is tough. I know a lot of fans. I put out a poll on Saturday night right after we lost and said, would you like Gary Henderson to be the coach? 1,700 people voted and over 60% said, no, I don't want Gary Henderson to be the coach. That's pretty shocking to me. I guess I get it. If you think he's not the long-term answer. I don't know that he was the long-term answer either. It doesn't matter now because obviously he's not going to be the head coach of Mississippi State. But it could be argued he earned the job with what he did. Could also be argued that he just got hot at the end of the season. Both of those arguments are legitimate. But to me, it shows that this hire did take a level of guts from John Cohen. It would be very easy to hire Gary Henderson right now. After going to the College World Series, making the run he did, it would be very easy. But if you're convicted and you're sold in your mind that he's not the long-term answer, he's not going to recruit to the level you want, he's not going to build the program if you want, if you're John Cohen and your mind is set on what you want the future of the program to be and you want a recruiter in that spot, and you got the guts to turn away a guy that just took you to the World Series, I think that's a gutsy stand by John Cohen. I really think it is. He didn't get swayed by the run. He didn't get swayed by anything else. He believes, nobody knows Gary Henderson better than John Cohen, and he believes Chris Lemonis is the way to go. I'm going to get on board with that. Now, I know there's a lot of debate in Facebook Live. I know it. I can just feel it. Henderson's phone will be ringing off the wall, says Sammy Smith. How do you pronounce the new coach's last name? Daniel Terry. I think it's Lemonis. Could be Lemonis. I don't know. I'm sure we'll come up with a cute nickname very, very soon. Jay Hammers with a very good point on Facebook Live, and I'll move on to recruiting and football in just a second. I don't know as much about baseball as John Cohen. I don't. And I think there are very few of our fans that know as much about baseball as John Cohen. Now, you might. But John Cohen got the football hire right, in my opinion. And I believe he's probably going to get the baseball hire right, too. That's all I got to say about that. Now, football, talking about getting the hire right, Joe Moorhead is killing it. He is killing it. He is not recruiting at a decent level. He is not, he's learning the South. He is destroying the recruiting trail right now. He's got it going in the right direction. For 9 years, Dan Mullen did a very good job at Mississippi State. But the one place where he just kind of lagged behind others was on the recruiting trail, whether it be in the summer, whether it be in the early or the signing period, whether it be whenever. Dan Mullen got the players, developed what he needed to win games and compete, but he didn't get the championship level recruits. He didn't break into the top 10, the top 15 of recruiting ever. He never broke it past, I think number 18 was his highest ranked class. Now, Joe Moorhead comes in 9 years after Mullen, or after 9 years of Mullen. Mullen built the program. Moorhead inherits a talented roster and inherits the best in-state crop of recruits in several years. So things are in Moorhead's favor, but still, he's taken what's been given to him, and he is giving us a great class so far. What happened this weekend? Nathan Pickering, a 4-star out of Seminary, Mississippi, a 4-star defensive end / defensive lineman, 6'4", 230, 240, 250, something like that. Nathan Pickering, one of the best players in the state of Mississippi and one of the most loaded classes. A lot of years Nathan Pickering would be far and away the best recruit in the state. As it is, he's top 3 or top 4 right now. He commits to Mississippi State on Thursday night. The next night, Dennis Jackson, a 4-star wide receiver from Summerall, Mississippi, commits. And Gregory Brooks, a 3-star from Louisiana cornerback, commits on Saturday. But here's the thing. Couple things. Nathan Pickering joins what looks like one of the best defensive line recruiting classes in the history of Mississippi State. Nathan Pickering, a high 4-star. Charles Moore was a 5-star before he got hurt last year from Louisville. King Ani Ezechukwu from Nashville. You're talking about a 4-star defensive end from out of state. DeMonte Russell, a 4-star defensive end from in-state. Jack Harris, who I didn't even mention yet. That is incredible defensive line talent. Any other year, Charles Moore by himself would make a good defensive line class. But you got Charles Moore, you got DeMonte Russell, and now you add Nathan Pickering. This is going to be – State right now this year has one of the best defensive lines in the SEC, and this is how you keep that going. You go find another Jeffrey Simmons. You go find another Montez Sweat. Well, here they are. But Nathan Pickering, as great as he is, as highly rated as he is, to me, the recruit this weekend that shows Joe Moorhead is different than what we're used to is Dennis Jackson. Dennis Jackson, a 4-star wide receiver from Summerall. 6'1", 185 pounds, I believe. This is the player Dan Mullen could never, ever land at Mississippi State. He was terrible at wide receiver recruiting. He did not do well in-state wide receiver. The best receivers he ever got at Mississippi State, Darunya Wilson, Fred Ross, were all from out of state. He never could overcome Ole Miss for in-state wide receivers. Why? I don't know. I don't know why he struggled at receiving so much. So when Dennis Jackson, a 4-star, emerges in 2019, everybody assumes, well, he's going to go to Ole Miss. Well, he's leaning to Ole Miss. Well, Dan Mullen ain't here anymore. Joe Moorhead's here. And wide receivers aren't slam dunks to go to Oxford anymore. They're not just going to throw their career away just to do it anymore. All right? Dennis Jackson, a day after his cousin Nathan Pickering commits to Mississippi State, Dennis Jackson commits to Mississippi State. And that was unexpected, and it was huge for this recruiting class. Unbelievable. Mullen wouldn't even have gotten a visit from Dennis Jackson. Not even a visit. Now, going out and making a statement with a 4-star wide receiver like that is huge. Gregory Brooks, a 3-star cornerback from Louisiana. We're destroying things in Louisiana. We're killing it in Louisiana. Devontae Jason last year. Keaton Thompson a couple of years ago. You got Quentin Torbor, a borderline 4-star wide receiver this year. Gregory Brooks gets in the boat. John Emery, a high 4-star running back, could be coming very soon. This staff is killing it in Louisiana. They're killing it all over the place. So I want to do this right now. I want to publicly thank Dan Mullen for getting out of Starkville. And I want to say, listen, you did a good job at Mississippi State. I appreciate what you did. You stayed 9 years. Even when people said you'd leave after year 2 and year 3 and year 4, you didn't. You stayed. You built a program, but then you got out and you moved on. And in time for this 2019 class, which is loaded, you got out and created room for a better recruiter, a better staff, and hopefully a better coach. Thank you, Dan Mullen, for leaving. Now, the guys that we should have been getting all along are coming on board at Mississippi State. Thanks, John Hevesy. Thanks, Billy Gonzalez. Good luck, guys. You guys should go, if you have time, go to a Florida message board and look at them talk about Mullen's recruiting. It looks like us over the last 6 or 7 years. It's unbelievable. It's hilarious. And, of course, since State is now number 7 in the country in the 24/7 rankings, the Ole Miss fans are emerging on Twitter. They're coming out of Matt Luke's shadow, which probably takes weeks to get out of his shadow. They're coming out of his shadow. And they're saying, oh, they're cheating. Oh, he's throwing away money. He's throwing around money. No, see, this is what happens, Ole Miss fans, when a program is built the right way. When Dan Mullen spends 9 years building this and recruiting, getting this and winning and going to bowls, and you build up and you build up and you build up, and now Joe Moorhead shows up and the program's on a solid foundation. It's built the right way. Moorhead is capitalizing on it. Ole Miss tried to bypass building a program. They tried to buy a program. They tried to go from 2-10 and 6-6 to getting the best players in the country from Florida, from Illinois, from Georgia. They tried to get 5 stars from everywhere, and it didn't work. People saw right through it. Well, this is real. This is not fake. This is not phony like everything coming from Oxford. Mississippi State saved up the money and built their credit and now are cashing in. Ole Miss knocked down the windows and ran in and started filling up the bag. That's not how it happens. What a run in baseball. What a run. Mississippi State baseball, Omaha. I know it's over. I know we ran into a better team. I know we'll finish 4th or 3rd in the country. But just imagine where we were, how much guts it took, how much intestinal fortitude it took for Mississippi State to fight and fight and fight. Nothing was ever easy. Coming to last weekend, you play the number 1 team in the country. You got to win 1, maybe 2 to get in. You win all 3. You sweep Arkansas, who's playing for a national title. You take 3 or 4 from Ole Miss. Every time there's a good team on the other side, Mississippi State answered the bell this year until the very end when Oregon State knocked us out. You get to Tallahassee, down to your last strike twice. Mississippi State fights through. Elijah McNamee becomes a legend. Jake Mangum so many times cements his legendary status at Mississippi State. Luke Alexander with the College World Series walk-off. Cole Gordon all of a sudden becomes Oral Hershiser at the end of the season. And let me say something about Cole Gordon. And Gary Henderson's gone. He won't be here anymore, and that's fine, whatever. Some people have said, Gary Henderson didn't manage the pitching staff right or whatever. And against Oklahoma, he throws Cole Gordon out there, and Cole Gordon just blows up. It's awful. It's terrible. Just has one of the worst performances. The State loses 20-10, and we're all calling for Gary Henderson's head. We're all calling for Cole Gordon's head. But you know what happened? The very next day, we're playing, I don't remember if it was Sanford or Oklahoma, and there comes a moment, and Gary Henderson puts Cole Gordon in the ballgame. He shows confidence in him. He says, you're my guy. I don't care what happened yesterday. You can get these guys. All of a sudden, Cole Gordon starts throwing strikes. all of a sudden, every time he comes out there, he's pumping strikes down the middle, and he's going 16 scoreless innings to finish the season against top-level elite competition in the postseason. Cole Gordon becomes one of the most valuable pitchers on the team. Gary Henderson instilled that confidence in him. He showed that confidence in him, and Cole Gordon became what he needed to become all along. So great job on that, Gary Henderson. Great job, Cole Gordon. We'll turn to our new coach, Chris Lemonis. We'll turn to Jake Gautreau to go out, get the top-level players to turn this into a championship program. But let it never be said that Gary Henderson didn't do a great job this year. He did. So many fans along the way were doubting his coaching ability, and so many fans saying this, that, and the other. Gary Henderson did a hell of a job. And I even had people come on my Facebook last night and say, let's not give Gary Henderson credit for something the players did. Well, if that's the case, never give a coach credit for anything. Because a coach is a part of the team just like the players are. A coach is a part of the ride just like the players are. And if you say, well, yeah, but if Elijah McNamee hadn't hit that ball out, then we'd have been out. Well, I guess that's true. But if Dak Prescott hadn't signed with MSU, Mississippi State would have never been number one. If Nick Saban hadn't gone to Alabama, things happen. You can't just say, well, if that didn't happen, it did happen. Give it credit. 2-minute drill. Number 1, and I do expect this to be varied. I do. On a scale of 1 to 10, rate your excitement on the hiring of Chris Lemonis at Mississippi State. Scale of 1 to 10, rate your excitement on the hiring of Chris Lemonis to Mississippi State. Somebody says, wish Cole Gordon would come back for a senior year. I do too. Jay Hammers says a 9. Philip Owen says, we can give Henderson credit and feel good about Cohen's new hire. That's absolutely correct, Philip. Absolutely. I got an 8 from Bill McDavid. I got a 5 from Jeremiah Body. I got an 8 from D. Curtis. I got a 5 from Michael Clyburn. Bobby Strickland says Gordon is a junior. That's true, but every report has said that he's going to be gone anyway. Tim Franks with a 4. Steven Stafford at 6. Toby Denton at 6. Ginger Tuck at 7. Tim Doss at 6. So anytime you got 6s and 7s, you got people that don't really want to say, I don't like it, but they're not really ready to say, all full steam ahead. You got a 9. You got a 7. Got an 8, Hugh J. Hubbard. What happens with our coaching staff, says Cesar Macias? Well, Jake Gautreau is staying. Gary Henderson will probably be somewhere else. Wouldn't it be something if he became the head coach of Indiana? Bob Ivy with a 5.5. Boy, that's very specific. Number 2, who is your favorite commitment on Mississippi State's 2019 recruiting class commitment list? Football. Who is your favorite current recruiting commitment for Mississippi State football in 2019? Who's your favorite? 2 people said 8. I believe in Cohen, and Bill Anderson says I'm giving him an 8 based on trust in John Cohen. You just nailed it. I can't say I'm all in, says Bobby Richardson. Yeah, I understand. Isaac Sparks says Jerry and Jones hands down. Well, that's a very good one. 4-star safety out of Northwest Rankin who appears to be our best recruiter. Nathan Pickering says Owen Hines. Pickering says James Weaver. Tim Franks also says Jerry, and Michael Clyburn says all of them, which is somehow correct. King Ani says Martin Smith, the 4-star defensive end out of Nashville. I don't follow recruiting all that much, says Jay Hammers, but I like Jerry and Jones for his tweets. That's very good. Ethan Fleury says John Emery, who's not technically a commit yet, but things sure look good for the good guys. Jerry and Jones says Adrian Page. Excited about the King and not sure why, says Daniel Martin. A lot of people say King Ani. I would say Jerry and Jones has won this. Nobody says Garrett Schrader, the quarterback. Garrett Schrader, the quarterback out of Charlotte, North Carolina. That's my guy. I'm a Garrett Schrader guy. If you watched his film, and you look at what Joe Moorhead's offense was at Penn State, boy, it's Garrett Schrader all day long for me. I love the defensive lineman. I love Charles Moore. I love Nathan Pickering. I love Jerry and Jones. But watch Schrader play football. Watch him. And think about what Joe Moorhead's offense looked at Penn State. That is going to be the recruit that when we look back in 4 or 5 years, we say, boy, when he signed, things changed. Number 3, let's get off football for a second. Let's go country music. We never talk about country music. You guys remember country music back in the 80s and 90s before these terrible ones today ruined it? What is the best 1990s country music song? What's the best country music song from the 90s?
Check yes or no.
Check Yes or No by George Strait. That's actually not a bad one there, Terp. Not a bad one.
Barbecue stand. Stain?
Barbecue Stain on My White T-Shirt by Tim
That's
McGraw.
a
Yeah.
good one.
No, it's not the name of the
I
song,
don't
but
think that's what it's called either.
yeah. D. Curtis says no country music. No. D. Curtis, you're a Mississippi State fan who lives in Arkansas. I know you have a country music CD somewhere in your house. Disappointed. I thought Gary should have maybe given at least 2-year deal. However, excited about the new coach, Wayne Shepherd. Here's the thing. 2-year deals, it don't work. If you're hiring a guy for 2 years, you're not hiring him at all. You don't give anybody a 2-year deal for anything. Because you know why? Scholarships are for 3 and 4 years. You don't say, here's a scholarship. By the way, I might not be the coach in 2 years. Doesn't work. The River, Friends in Low Places. Somebody says she's in love with the boy, which is one of my personal favorites. It's my number 2 90s country song. Back in the Saddle, Low Places. Fishing in the Dark by the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. Meet in the Middle by Diamond Rio. Country Sucks. Okay, if the country question isn't for you, just wait, and then you get to another question. That's all. Just wait. Neon Moon, the correct answer. Neon Moon by Brooks and Dunn. That is the correct answer. Number 4. What is the best television show about food? What is the best current television show that is food related? Could be on the Food Network, could be anywhere. What is the best TV show about food? Be a Bobby Flay show. Could be that girl Giada cooking with cleavage. Could be anything. Could be whatever you want. The best TV show related to food. Somebody said Achy Breaky Heart, which I will never read that person's comments again. Derek Woodford says Triple D. That's Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, starring Guy Fieri. Hell's Kitchen. That's that British guy, right? Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. Trey Adcock says any barbecue show. Oh, Trey's back. Trey bailed on me on the country question, but he's back. Parts Unknown until recently, says Adrian Page. Food Paradise on Travel Channel. Master Chef, Stephanie Malone Ford. Beat Bobby Flay, says Olivia Worsham Merrill. Beat Bobby Flay's just goofy, the way they act. But I like the show. Triple D, Master Chef Jr., Snoop and Martha. I've never seen Snoop and Martha, Gene Prysock. Master Chef is great. Johnny Cash, My Rusty Cage. I guess that's from the last question. So it looks like Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives has won this one. Number 5, last question of the day. What's the best board game? What's the best board game? Best board game to play with your family? Terp, you like that question?
I like it.
You've come from a family that looks like they play board games together. We didn't play crap in my house.
It's long, but I think
my mom would say if you want to play with a board game, go outside. There's some wood out back. We didn't play board games in my house.
Boards.
Huh?
Break some boards out of that wood. That's fun. I'd say Monopoly. It's just classic.
Junior Ray says Monopoly, as does Tim Dahl. Scrabble from D. Curtis. I lean with D. Curtis here. I like Scrabble. Monopoly, Trey Adcock. Risk, Michael Clyburn. Monopoly, says James Harvey Darby. Looks like Monopoly is going to win it. I love Scattergories. That's my answer to that question. I love Scattergories.
Great game.
The only problem with Scattergories is, it's one of those games where you reveal your answers, afterwards. And as everybody's revealing answers, I can't resist the urge to cheat. So I'm just writing in. I always win Scattergories because it's too easy to cheat. Monopoly, sorry. Chutes and Ladders, says Christopher Lofstrom. Mississippi State Monopoly, says Bobby Richardson. Risk is also a good one, Isaac Spark. So Monopoly is going to win this one pretty easily. All right, let's go. Can I go to 35 today? Because I had a very full show. It's at 1, right? What'd she say?
Saying Boss Man will be mad if you do.
I'm going to 35.
You're taking the heat.
I'm fired Thursday anyway. What does it matter?
Why don't you go earlier?
I'm not even wearing pants right now. What do they care? You're just mad because you want to go play FIFA.
Hurry up.
She wants to go to lunch. Boss Man isn't paying attention right now. Boss Man's he's filling out resumes and applications in there just like the rest of us. My name's Brandon Walker.
This is Terp.
I'm going to close the podcast down. You've been listening to More Cowbell, the Mississippi State podcast presented by SEC Country. I just need to go to 35 because I had a very full show today. Did you see how many people I had? I had more people today than Dog Nation had. I had a lot of people today. A lot of people. People love Brandon Walker. morecowbellshow@gmail.com. That's morecowbellshow@gmail.com. If you want to email me and talk to me and send me money, sponsor the show, whatever you'd like to do, morecowbellshow@gmail.com. Facebook.com/The More Cowbell Show. Facebook.com/The More Cowbell Show. That's where we'll be launching very soon. We'll also be streaming live on YouTube. So if you've wondered that, if you want to watch it and you're not on Facebook, you can do that. Although I don't know who I'm talking to right now because I'm only broadcasting on Facebook. Whatever, my head hurt. Why are you leaving? Says Adele Tabar. I'm not leaving per se. SEC Country is going away. SEC Country being shut down by Cox Media Group. I saw 268 when I logged in. Bill Anderson. Yeah, there were a lot of people. John Humphreys, how will your new show differ from this one? Well, I have a new studio, and I'll be running it all myself. It'll still look good. I spent a lot of money on a camera, other equipment. Basically, it just won't be by SEC Country. It'll be the same show. It'll be the same show. I just won't have to say SEC Country, and I won't have to do any of that stuff anymore. Brandon, not to get too personal, but what's it like? We're family here, Martin Smith. What's it like to know for a month you're going to be out of a job, good or bad? Martin Smith, good question. It felt a lot better when I got laid off at 11:30 on May 23rd, and by 12:15, a State fan from Atlanta had called me and hired me at his place. So yeah, felt a lot better. So after July 1st, I'll be doing work for somebody else in Atlanta, making a significantly bigger amount of money than I'm making now, and I'll have the ability to do my podcast on the side. So I'm good. Why didn't Richard Williams sign you? You were almost as tall as him in elementary school. It's accurate. Very accurate. Brandon obviously did not get enough sleep. Also accurate. Do you have your new intro music yet? I do have it, Bill Anderson. I do. I can't play it. We're out of time today. I'd have to email it to Terp, but I have been given my new music from Jay Langston. It's a little different. I'll play it for you tomorrow. We hoped you'd move to Mississippi. I'm not ruling that out. I can do my new job remotely, so I'm not ruling that out. Hopefully by the end of the summer, I do, in fact, live in Starkville, Mississippi. Monopoly almost ended my wife and I's relationship, says Daniel Browning. All right, well, I'm going to stop and get Monopoly on my way home, if that's all it takes. Will Terp call in? Shannon Lisenby, Terp is moving in with me. I'm actually putting the studio in an empty bedroom in my house, and Terp will be
living there now,
sleeping on a futon in the studio. Coach Williams must not have liked your effort on the defensive end. Guy Dawson, I don't play defense. I am not playing defense. Is it still going to look the same, new camera or not? Brian Lippincott, so I won't have this backdrop. I'm investing in a set, and I'll put a bunch of cowbells up there. And by the way, I do have a tag on my car now. It'll look good. To live in Stark Vegas would be awesome. Jennifer Bullock. Lies, you married up, says Ryan Campbell. Just big facts over here. Is that how I say it? Big facts? Yeah. Big facts.
Good job.
By the way, before this week is out, both of y'all are going to be on camera. Y'all are going to come out here, and we might moon the camera. I don't know. Well, we'll decide what we're going to do.
I have to dress up.
No.
I'm already dressing up.
I think we're past that. Oh, you mean I'll still look the same? Brandon's ugly. He's still going to be on camera. That ugly. He looks like Shrek. I heard the interim coach didn't want the head coach position, says Mac McBrayer. Everybody keeps telling me this. I heard Gary Henderson didn't want the job. I don't think Gary Henderson wants the job. You know, for somebody who didn't want the job, Gary Henderson sounded a lot like a guy who wanted the job the other night. Now, he wasn't outright begging for it, like I said earlier. But Gary Henderson wanted the job. Let me ask you a question. If you're making $300,000 doing something right now, and there's a job opening ahead of you that's making $1.5 million, and I don't know if those are the numbers, but they're around about the numbers. If you're making $300,000 and the job ahead of you is empty and it pays $1.5 million, do you want that job?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
That is the answer. Do you think baseball players will buy into the new coach, James Harvey Darby? I do. I think they will. I think they're bought into Cohen, and whatever Cohen does, they'll be bought into. I don't know what Terp looks like. You're not missing anything, Matt Weisinger. Looks like a foot. A terrible looking dude. He said he wanted it Saturday night, Jay Hammers. Yeah, he did. I mean, he wanted the job. But the fact that we hired on Sunday night, or leaked it Sunday night after losing Saturday, tells me that Chris Lemonis has probably been the guy for a little while, probably a couple of weeks. Maybe not during the whole search. I think it might have been Schlossnagle at one point, but at least for a couple of weeks, because we didn't interview Chris Lemonis after losing in the College World Series. We already had that lined up. Keeping Gautreaux is the best thing as far as the team is concerned. Jay Hammers. Interested to hear contract details on Lemonis, Martin Smith. So I think Lemonis was making $200,000 at Indiana, something paltry, something that nowhere close. So you can buy Henderson's house now. See, it all works out. Wayman Hodge. I guess that's correct. I'll have to get my real estate agent, Steve C, on the phone and start. Heard he wanted the job. I hear he's staying in the athletic department, Junior Ray. So I would be surprised if he stays. It just seems like he's got a lot to offer right now. He's never been hotter as a coach. He never made it out of a regional or super regional, and now he's been to the College World Series. So I can't see somebody not hiring him. Get Steve on the show for recruiting this week. That's the plan for tomorrow. Would he stay as an assistant coach? He stepped in and did great. Would be an awesome assistant. Bobby, I'll answer that with a question as well. If you were an assistant coach and the head coach, got caught doing what he did and got fired 3 games in the season, and then you took over and led the team to almost winning a national title, led the team on an incredible run, would you settle for being an assistant coach to somebody else at that point on the same team? I don't know that I could. Let's be honest. These are human beings here. These are human beings, and we're closing it up. We're closing it up. These are human beings, so it's just tough. It's tough. I heard the road to Omaha goes through Oxford. I think that's the road to J. Crew. That's the road to J. Crew. What are you doing? You guys want me to get off the air? See, they don't even care anymore. They don't even care. All right. Since I've got the crew in here to change around the studio for the more important shows, why are we still doing the Alabama show, by the way? Huh? Nothing? Nothing. Okay. My name is Brandon Walker. We'll be back tomorrow, 10:45 Central Time. My name's Brandon Walker. You've been watching more Cowbell, the Mississippi State podcast presented by SEC Country.